welcome to my Vision News. Three news stories. First one is from Tigray. Political crisis is deepening in Tigray. No signs of any de-escalation. Tigray government and military has formed a 5-member committee today, but the meeting which was held to form the committee was boycotted by the opposition. Is it a failure of TPLF that so far it has not been able to create political consensus in Tigray for the formation of interim government? And where does Ethiopian federal government stand while TPLF unilaterally is pursuing the process to form interim government? Where is Ethiopian federal government? Secondly, Abune Matthias, the Patriarch of Orthodox Church, arrived in Mekelle today. And thirdly, protests continue in Oromia region. In different areas of Guji, protests were held today, as I reported in a previous video this morning. Police fired tear gas in some places to disperse the protesters. Firstly, we was Tigray. A meeting was held in Mekelle, Tigray's capital today, details of which have been shared by Tigray regional government and Tigray government-backed media. So details are not sufficient. A 5-member committee has been formed. The committee is being called Conference Committee. And now voting will be held, I think, for the formation of interim government. The meeting which was held in Mekelle today for the formation of this committee was boycotted by the 3 opposition parties. Tigray has only 3 opposition parties: Salzevayene, Betona and Tigray Independence Party. The 3 parties were not part of this meeting held today. 5-member committee consists of, firstly, Debretsion Mekelle. Tigray is president. He is the president and now he is member of the committee. Secondly, Liakasa, Tigray Communication Affairs Bureau in charge. Again, part of Tigray regional government, part of TPLF, you can say. Mulvar Kidane, educationist, a teacher. 2 from military: Tadase Varede, who was leading the talks for the formation of interim government. And fourthly, Ziodi Kiros, female general. She was part of Ethiopian National Defense Force, Tigrayan, but in this war she fought, in the 2-year-long war, she fought in support of Tigray forces. So 2 women, 3 men, 5-member committee, which will take the process further towards the formation of interim government. Tigray media says that in today's meeting, religious leaders participated and civil society members were there, military officials there too, and from political parties were there 2 people from political parties. Though the 3 opposition parties, they boycotted today's meeting. So it means unilaterally TPLF is taking the process further to form interim government. And TPLF and Tigray military are on the same page. Though there are splits in military, Sadkan is opposing this process. Sadkan has shared his input. He wants a very transparent process. There is a video on that. Varede and others, they are with TPLF. Opposition seems to be standing with Sadkan. I have a few questions. Firstly, TPLF always accused in the last 2 years that it was Ethiopian government's failure. It was its intention to commit genocide of Tigrayans. It was failure of politics of politicians of Eritrea and Ethiopia that they were against TPLF. They did not want to give any political role to TPLF after they took power. Now, what is happening in Tigray? Isn't it a failure of TPLF that it cannot handle a few opposition parties? It is not ready to accommodate them. Secondly, no matter how small opposition is, you can never conduct elections if elections don't have trust of opposition parties. Yes, three opposition parties are very small. They got a few thousand votes in 2020 regional election. Small parties, but they are opposition. Opposition has equal share when it comes to formation of interim government. Why? Because no one knows who will be the next regional president, who will be the next winning party. Maybe one of these three parties could win lots of seats in coming election. So that is why opposition is called government in waiting. Is TPLF treating the three parties as government in waiting? No. So it's a failure of TPLF, and secondly, it indicates that TPLF is pursuing a policy, which Prosperity is pursuing a policy at federal level. That opposition is not tolerated. Yes, we can talk about opposition parties too. What are their demands? They demand a transparent process, and so far the process being adopted is not transparent. We'll have to acknowledge that. That is why I will blame TPLF more than opposition parties. People would say, Sajid, this is the time for creating unity in Tigray. Opposition parties are trying to politicize this entire issue to gain prop up their standing in Tigray as political parties. I don't agree. Unity, which is created denying opposition its due political right, cannot take Tigray further. It will lead to instability, repression in Tigray. Let's see, we'll try to update you. Where is Addis Ababa? Where is Ethiopian federal government? Is it on board with the Tigray government and the faction of Tigray military, which is part of this process of formation of interim government? Because obviously there cannot be interim government in Tigray without approval from Addis Ababa. And that is what Sadgan said, that Addis Ababa should be involved, federal government, international community as well, diaspora too. But so far, TPLF and one faction of Tigray military taking a solo flight. This is not a transparent process. It will not lead to smooth holding of regional election. Now, federal government's role is crucial. What will it do? Will it back these efforts, or will it try to intervene to give opposition some role? Who will play the role of mediator in this issue? Obviously, federal government will have to intervene, or international community. First responsibility lies with Ethiopian federal government to intervene. Second, viewers, Orthodox Church of Ethiopia's Patriarch arrived in Mekelle today, as we reported last night. He arrived in Mekelle in connection with the funeral program of Abune Johannes, a bishop, one of the top bishops from Oromia, 95 years old, who passed away yesterday. Abune Matthias was welcomed in Tigray, as was expected. And he was not accompanied by hardliners. Abune Abraham, Abune Petros are seen as hardliners, part of Synod. They were not seen accompanying Abune Matthias. I could not confirm their arrival in Tigray. So it was just Abune Matthias. Tigray's clergy, Orthodox clergy, was there to welcome Abune Matthias. So it means that Tigray's clergy is not opposing the Patriarch. The visit is crucial Tigray clergy never said anything against the patriarch. It always accused the church generally. Its main target was Amhara Orthodox archbishops. Can this visit lead to restoration of ties between Tigray Diocese Orthodox Church? That remains to be seen. But Abu Matthias was welcomed. The state media showed his arrival as well, Tigray regional state media. So we'll see in coming days what is the impact of this visit. We'll see in coming days. Thirdly, viewers, protests continue in the Oromia region of Ethiopia against restructuring of Oromia region, where we know that several cities have been merged into new administrative zones, like East Borana zone has been formed in southern Oromia, but people of Guji are rejecting this East Borana zone. They're protesting. Police is firing tear gas. Pictures are being shared from different towns of Guji, which show that protests continue today. Protests started yesterday in Dorodola, Voreda, Herekelo city, in Urga Voreda, in Shakiso city. People protested today. We have seen pictures, and in Dorodola, Voreda, police fired tear gas to disperse protesters. So the issue is unresolved. Why? Because the regional government, regional parliament has approved this restructuring. People of Guji are rejecting, and regional government is using force. Let's see, can these protests be controlled, or the situation will escalate? Protests are spreading. Protests in Guji is not in just one town. Protests are spreading. And so far, no meaningful intervention from the government to talk to the protesters. That is why we're seeing the confrontation, use of tear gas. Some say live ammunition were fired at some protesters. Thank you for watching.